Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Math with Mrs. Harris. Today we will start our first lesson on rewrite fractions with common denominators. Let's go. Rewrite fractions with a common denominator. I first wanted to give the definition of what an equivalent fraction is and a common denominator. An equivalent fraction is fractions that name the same amount or part, and a common denominator is a common multiple of two or more denominators. Any two or more fractions can be expressed as equivalent fractions with a common denominator. And so we'll be looking in how to find the common denominator. Our first fractions that we will look at are 3/4 and 1/8. Let me first tell you that the 4 and the 8 are both called the denominator. The 3 and the 1 are both called the numerator. For us to be able to write the equivalent fraction, we must find the common denominator. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to write out our multiples of 4 and 8. My multiples of 4 is 4, 8, and 12. My multiples of 8 is 8 and 16. Now, I like to write out at least 3 to 4 multiples of each number. And so as we can tell, our common denominator is 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out to the side 3/4 and 1/8. The only number that I can multiply 4 by to get 8 is 2. And whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. And like I tell my students, whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 3 times 2 is 6, and 4 times 2 is 8. There's nothing else that I can do to 1/8 because 8 is already the denominator. So we'll just bring it down. So our new equivalent fraction is 6/8 and 1/8. Number 2, 1/4 and 5/6. The denominator in this problem is 4 and 6. And the numerator is 1 and 5. So the first thing we got to do is we got to write out our multiples of 4 and 6. 4 and 6. So my multiples of 4 is 4, 8, and 12. My multiples of 6 is 6 and 12. That means I can stop right there because my common denominator is 12. So I'm going to write off to the side 1/4 and 5/6. The only number that I can multiply 4 by to get 12 is 3. And whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Now we're going to look at 5/6. The only number that we can multiply 6 by to get 12 is 2. And once again, whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator. So 5 times 2 is 10, and 6 times 2 is 12. My new equivalent fraction is 3/12 and 10/12. So we have completed our first lesson on rewrite fractions with a common denominator. Stay tuned with your girl, Mrs. Harris.